Today I'm going to show you how to make this little sword. It's a little katana, as you can see. So I'm going to show you how to cut it, and we're going to make it out of popsicle sticks. So let's get started and just jump right into this. We're going to make this little sword. Alright, once you have it all cut out, it should look kind of like this. As you can see, it already looks like a sword. Obviously, you're going to then clean it up, and the way we're going to do that is actually with sandpaper. So we have some sandpaper, and then you just take it and you just clean it up. So that's kind of what it should look like to start. So this is kind of our basic shape, and then we're going to add in the handle, and we'll add in the guard, and then we can also paint it if we want at the end. So next we're going to make our guard, but this is actually a little bit of a tricky part, but we'll go ahead and make it. The tricky part about this is because it's a popsicle stick, it tends to want to break when you're doing very delicate or little things like this. It just tends to want to pull apart. Once you get it cut, you'll have a little hole, and that little hole is where you'll put your sword through. So there you can see, that'll be our guard. It's a little loose, but once we put in the handle, we'll have a much tighter fit. And then we'll also trim it up. Usually I cut the hole first before I shape it, because if you shape it and then try and cut the hole, it seems to break easier. Alright, so once you get it, it should fit on, and you make it about as circular as you can without it breaking. You know, you can perfect this if you want, spend more time on it, but for me, I'm going to move forward because these are very difficult. They tend to break if you sand them too much, or if you spend too much work on them. Trying to get that perfect circle, you'll end up probably breaking it before you actually get it there. So you can see here it's circular. So the next part we have to do is actually the handle. So in this case, you just take two pieces So the handle you're gonna make probably a bit bigger, so probably cut it kind of along, probably about here, because you want your handle to be bigger than obviously the blade. So you want two pieces that are pretty much the same because you're going to glue them together around the handle. And that's what's going to make the handle once you glue them together. And so what you have to do is, you don't want a gap like that, so you have to actually dig out a small section. So you can make that cut so that you can actually put the handle in here. And this is another hard part, but basically you just have to chisel this down in a way to make a little indent. You can cut that out with your blade, or you can use like a little chisel to try and chisel it down and out. I'd say that's pretty much flush on this side, and then we're going to have a second one on the other side. Then once it's glued together, we'll then file it down, chisel it to the size that we actually want it to be. So let's do the other side. What you should have is two pieces that look a bit more flush when you actually put them together. As you can see here, it's a bit more flush together, and this is what we're going to glue together, and then we'll cut it down, shave it down to the size that we want. As you can see, this handle is same way, and we can just shave it down to the size that we want. Alright, so then we'll put these two pieces here, one here, and then that will make our blade handle, and then our cover, our guard. And then when you look here, you can see that there's a small gap, so that's where the blade's going to actually slide in. So we're going to go ahead and glue it so that our handle is in place, and then we'll be able to chisel it down to the size that we want. Once we get it in place, we can take these just regular old clips and then clip it on each side to make sure that the blade handle stays in place, and then we can obviously, when we remove that, they should be glued together. And then you want to make sure it's as tight as it can be up at the top on both sides, and you can push it forward a little bit if you need, but should be good to go. And once it's glued, we can chisel it down, and then once we chisel it down, we'll have the actual handle. Alright, we are back. We hope the glue is dried. And we're going to keep chiseling down our handle. So this is about what it looks like when you get going. This is about halfway done. So we're gonna need to put a wrap on the handle, and then we also need to put a little bit of a guard. So you can see on this one we have a little bit of guard. So we'll put those little pieces on, and then it really just comes down to painting it if you want to paint it or use markers, or you can leave it without. But this is, as you can see, coming along quite nicely. Alright, so once you have it set, you have a little guard here. So you can see, you can put your little guard there. And then this can be all painted. We're gonna, you can paint it or you can just use markers. In this case, we're just gonna use markers, and then we're gonna wrap the handle, and then that'll be it for this one. Just give you an idea of how you can build these. Obviously, if you take a little bit more time, you can make it customized to what you like. So in order to do the handle, we're actually going to just clip this onto something, and we'll clip this onto and I think this handle, I actually want a blue handle, so I'm gonna take this blue string and change it, because this one has a green handle, but I think I'll do a blue handle for this one. And so you just take quite a bit, quite a bit. It doesn't really matter how much, because you're gonna just move it down towards the base. So if you end up with more at the end, you just trim it anyways. And so with this, you're gonna fold it over a couple of times so that you have obviously a little bit more of a thickness to it, so that you can actually see it. So you can just fold it up about 3 times until you have a thickness that is basically visible. And then you just wrap it around. If you twist it, actually, then it'll hold together a little bit better. Then you just wrap it around the base. Alright, so while the handle's drying, I'm going to go ahead and actually color this one. The other one I didn't color. I didn't color this one, but I'm going to color this one just to see how it comes out. And again, coloring it or not coloring it is completely up to you. So the handle's drying, and so I'm going to actually do two tones on this. I'm going to do a light tone on the front and then a darker tone on the back so that you have your hamon line that makes it look more like a samurai sword. So there you have it. That's how you make a miniature samurai sword.